I honestly, I had a freaking blast at the concert, and before I even like start, I guess, playing the game, I just kind of wanted to take some time to talk about the journey a little bit, because what I wanted to do while I was in Singapore is like I really wanted to stream, but unfortunately I never had the opportunity. I mean, I did at one point. I probably could have made it to the stream, but I was super tired, like way too tired to just begin the stream at like past midnight, and I was flying the next day. So honestly, I was super terrified of just ending up, I don't know, streaming for about like an hour or a couple of hours or something like that, and just like I know that the chat would have kept me awake, and I would have been, I would have been. I would have been, I would have had fun, but I was too afraid that I will be even more tired and that I would like end up not waking up for my flight. So I decided to like not start the stream at all, even though I really kind of wanted to. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to share like a few things that that I experienced, and some things that I probably concluded along the way that I didn't know about, myself as a content creator in general and whatnot. No, like that's why I decided to not stream that day. Like I wanted to stream from Singapore, and I had my what's it called, like the tripod thing and everything. Like it was ready, but then I was like, okay, like if I stream and if I stay up too late and if tomorrow morning I miss my flight, it is going to be my fault. So I decided to just not have that laying on my conscience. So today, I'm not sure if I'll like be streaming for a very long time, but I don't know, like I just wanted to show up and talk about it, I guess, a little bit. Like honestly, I think I've developed a new appreciation for how big planet Earth is, to be honest, because this is again, it's a little silly, I guess, but before I went to Singapore, I actually didn't bother checking like how far kilometrically, right, Singapore is from Serbia. And as it turned out, it is like more than 10,000 kilometers away. And I was like, the only thing that I knew was that it was going to be like a 10 or 11-hour flight or whatever. And I was like, okay, fine. That was the flight from Istanbul to Singapore, and the flight from Belgrade to Istanbul was about an hour and a half or so. And I was like, okay, like in hours that like didn't seem like a lot. But then I like stepped onto, like the plane, and I realized that it says 10,000 kilometers. And I think at that point it really kind of hit me like what I was doing and where I was going. And I don't know, like I didn't have this realization until I actually boarded the plane to Singapore when I was in Istanbul, right? And I don't know, like at first it really felt like a very ordinary flight, right? The flight was at when was it? What time was it? I think it was like somewhere like in the evening, right? And I at first it wasn't dark, right? So I've never had an overnight flight, like a flight that long. I went to the States, but I think that was during the day, and it was I don't know, like I think it was a little bit of a different experience because it was, I don't know, it was daytime. It was like yes, an over ocean flight, which was scary in itself, but this one, like, it was an overnight flight, and I realized that I can't sleep because for some reason, like, to me, there's just something terrifying about basically a plane flying in pitch dark, and these little things that I normally like, I shouldn't have paid attention to them. Like, I shouldn't have been thinking about them. I shouldn't have been obsessing over it and whatnot. But the fact that it was like minus 50 degrees outside, I was like, okay, like I know that the atmosphere is cold, and I don't know why this little like piece of data, like why it even like bothered, well, not bothered me, but like why it was important, because I wasn't outside. I knew that the plane wasn't gonna like open, and I tried not to think about the fact that excuse me, the fact that it is in fact like a metal can that you like step into. And I tried like not to mentally tap into this picture of an actual airplane being so far away from earth, like this distance between like my feet and basically the closest point on earth. Like it was so overwhelming to think about it. I tried not to, but like there were these like thoughts that just kind of like crept up on me. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna try not to think about it. I'm gonna try to go to sleep, but I couldn't go to sleep. And here's the thing: like when I was traveling to Singapore, I was sitting at this in this like window seat, right? And I at first I thought that those were good seats, like you get to like look at the window, but then I realized that I don't want to be looking at a window at all. So what I did was I sat in my seat, and next to me there were two older ladies, right? They were like two friends or whatever. And basically, they liked to sleep a lot. They were able to sleep on this plane, and I was not. And I was like very nervous during the night, and I had to go to the bathroom a lot. And it was really really uncomfortable for me because I didn't want to like keep moving them so that I can go to bathroom. Like at one point I consider asking them if I can switch places with like one of them so one of them can get the window seat or whatever. But like I don't know, like I didn't know if that was a thing. I didn't know if like people would do it or not. But like I kept having to go, and I couldn't fall asleep because whenever I would like try to fall asleep, I would be either having to go to bathroom or I would like keep thinking about I don't know, about the fact that I am on this plane. And like at some point, the plane was flying across India, and I was like, okay, like it's fine. Like I've been in this plane for a while. I should have like gotten used to it. And then it went from like India to like the sea, like the ocean and whatnot. And at that moment, the turbulences started happening, and I at first I thought it was a coincidence, but then I realized that we are entering this like tropical region where winds and turbulences and everything, they are more common than they are in Europe or whatever. And then I was like, dude, dear passengers, we would kindly remind you to go back to your seats, fasten the seatbelt, and not move because we're probably gonna die. No, they didn't say that. But like that's kind of how it sounded to me, because we kept getting like these warnings about like staying in our seats and fastening our seat belt and whatnot. And and I just sat there, and it was like the first time that we've had these like repeated turbulences and warnings and whatnot. It was actually pretty crazy and pretty scary because it was nighttime, and I sat there and the plane starts shaking and there's turbulences, and I'm like, Jesus, like why did I even decide to go through with this? I have a child, I have a dog, I have a family, like I have a life to live. It's like, why am I even on this plane? It was scary. Hi, Grand Zero, welcome back. How are you doing? What's up? Olivia has almost gone full blonde. Eek. I actually, there's a reason why I'm still blonde. Normally, I would dye my hair as soon as I bleach it, right? But but here's the thing: like I was like as I was traveling to Singapore, like I didn't know if my hair color in itself would be culturally appropriate. And I did like I asked Quasi if, because he actually helped me a lot with like figuring out my trip, and just giving me these like few small tips that I'm very very grateful for, about like basically what I should do, like the app that I should probably get for my phone or whatever. It's like these little tips actually made my trip a lot easier because I was relying on them a lot. And I asked him if my hair color was gonna be a problem, and he said no. But at the same time, like I was a little worried that like if I dyed my hair, because I had a haircut right before and I bleached my hair right before going, and if I had dyed my hair would have been very very what's the English word? Like it would pop out, right? And that's not something that I wanted. Like I didn't want to be kind of stared at and whatnot. So I just decided to like keep the hair blonde for the duration of the trip, and it didn't really work the way I imagined it. Yes, nobody like asked me about my hair color or anything, but then I realized that I'm going to Asia where a lot of people just are not blonde. And as I went to the concert in particular, where there was just a lot of people in one place, I was like looking around, and the majority of people who were there were local, right? And since they were local, most of people's hair was dark. And I was just, I don't know, like stared at. Because I don't know, like I was looking around everywhere, and I was like the only blonde person in this entire area, and it made me feel so weird because even though people like didn't want to stare, I guess it was, I don't know, at that point like it was unusual, I guess, to have, I don't know, for some reason to have a blonde person there. Like I'm not generically blonde, my hair is brown, but I did want to just be prepared to dye it after I come home, so I went as blonde. And it was quite an experience. It was I thought I was gonna avoid like attracting like any sort of attention, but then I ended up attracting more attention than some people. And there were, by the way, people there who had their hair dyed in, like, I don't know, green or pink or like purple or some other color, but they were like local people, and I don't know, like they didn't like stand out as much. There were quite a few, and I thought about it, and I realized that I probably would have attracted less attention if my hair was if my hair was like, I don't know, pink or blue or anything rather than blonde. But honestly, the concert itself was, it was such an experience. It was so incredible. At first, it was funny because there was a taxi driver, right, who took me to the venue, and the venue was, it's called like Star Theater. And knowing like what the theaters look like in Europe, I thought that it was gonna be like a separate building where you walk in and this is the theater. I didn't actually think that it would be within like a mall, right? So I got dropped off like in front of a mall, and the taxi, the Grab, right, the driver, he's like, goodbye, this is it. And I'm just standing there, and I'm literally standing in front of a mall. And I'll be honest, at that point I felt like, have you seen like Harry Potter? At some point, and then, like, do you remember like that scene from Harry Potter where he was standing at like the train station, and he was looking for like 9 3/4, and he couldn't figure it out, and then he heard some people talking about 9 3/4 and muggles, and he immediately like decided to follow these people because they were the only clue. That's kind of what happened to me, because I was just standing there. I'm turning around, I'm in the middle of a mall, I have no idea where to go, and there's these two guys that are standing next to me, and they're talking, and I'm not even paying attention. But then I hear Final Fantasy, and that was my cue. I immediately just turned to them, and like I was trying to be inconspicuous, but I did start following them. I totally followed them all the way to the venue, which turned out to be like all the way upstairs. Like I didn't realize that it was gonna be, not a separate building, right? So it was like, it was incredible. It was like the whole experience, like at the actual concert, it was crazy. They played a lot more songs than what they wrote in the bulletin. In the bulletin, they wrote a few songs, like a few songs from Final Fantasy X, some songs from 14, some songs from like 6 and 9 and whatnot, but they ended up playing so much more. And you could tell that they deliberately planned this event to like have like a bit of a slower start, But like on the second half, because there was like an intermission break for like 15 minutes, like you could really tell that they decided to just go full force with just the best songs in the second half. Like in the second half, they played. I'm pretty sure that there were both of the Final Fantasy X songs. There was Dragon's song. There was what else was in the second half? Like all of these like very hard hitting song. Aerith's theme was in the second half. Like all of these I don't know, these like super emotional songs, like they had the literally the entire like concert venue, they had them crying. Because it was, I don't know, like honestly sitting there, just seeing a bunch of these dudes around me, just crying when they started playing and singing the dragon song. It was crazy. It was honestly, it was amazing how everybody was just so emotional and excited for the event, and like you could hear the conversations between like people. Most people around me, even they spoke in English to each other and whatnot, so I was like kind of eavesdropping a little bit and trying to, I don't know, it's just trying to see like what the community around there talks about. And most people were actually like very dedicated fans, like knew things from like Final Fantasy 1 to Final Fantasy 16, talked about like Final Fantasy 14 and like their jobs and like the MSQ from like 6.5 or whatever. You could see that they're mostly like caught up with it, and that's kind of their life. And for the first time in like a very long time, I guess, I felt like I actually belonged where I was, because when you go to an event like this and when you hear people talking about all these things that you love, you realize that you're not alone and that you're not really like supposed to like feel alone, because even though these people, yes, they're on the other side of the world, and like when when we go home, when we sit in front of our, I don't know, PCs or consoles or whatever it is, like we feel like there's not a lot of people who understands us. But then you go to an event like that and you realize that they are all over the world. You just sometimes you just gotta find them. And it was weird because like everybody at that like in at that venue in that on that event, like it felt like everybody kind of like understood each other, and everybody was like on the same wavelength, and it was perfect. It was actually completely incredible to witness that. And I personally, I felt very safe, like in the country in general. I did know a few things that like uh, I guess I came prepared. Quasi helped me a lot with that. I did I did ask him a few questions before I went there, and he was very kind and gave me a ton of tips on how to basically get around, and like which app to get for like the taxi and everything. Just just overall useful stuff that if I hadn't known them, I probably would have felt a lot more lost. Even though at the airport, yes, like when you arrive, they show you that there's gonna be like, I don't know, that this is the taxi pickup place, that you can call a taxi or go by bus or do this or do that. But you just sometimes, like, you just kind of want to make sure that you're kind of going in, I want to say going in prepared, right? It made me feel a lot better. And apparently there's a really good transportation system in Singapore that I unfortunately didn't get to explore because I was only there for a day, and it just felt like a huge hassle to like learn where the bus stops are, what to do, even though it would have been cheaper, yes. But I did rely on the taxi, which was actually not that expensive. Like the taxi rides, even the most expensive ones from like, I don't know, the center of the city to the airport, that was like $20. And I guess the cost of the ride from like my hotel to the theater avenue was like $10. So like in comparison, like it wasn't really that bad. But yeah, definitely, it's definitely less. Well, it's less of a hassle. But apparently, once you know a thing or two about about the actual city, it gets easier. I had a lot of fun exploring food, and I can't name even like, I don't know, one half of the new things that I got to try. But my only regret is actually that that I didn't get to try more food, because the I don't know, everything was very tempting, but some things I didn't know if I would like. Some things I didn't know how to pronounce, so I didn't ask for them. Like there were a few of these things that I felt like I should have tried and I didn't get around to. When I actually arrived there, I was in a hotel and I made a terrible mistake when I was booking my hotel, because apparently I booked only 5 hours, even though on my reservation it said that I have one night stay, and that the check-in is on this day, the is on that day, but it also said like 5 hours use or something like that. So for some reason they rent out a room for an entire day, but that's also like only 5 hours of that day. And I was like, no, I need it for like the entire night because I'm staying until tomorrow. So they had to like edit my booking, and as they edited my booking, they couldn't let me into the room because there needs to be 5 hours from like the booking until you're actually at the hotel. So I was like roaming the city for 5 hours while they were like, getting my room ready, because they also had to change my room. So it was a little bit of a hassle, but they let me use the bathroom because eventually I chose the room with like a shared bathroom. So at least I was able to like take a shower and just get some rest in the lobby before I actually went to explore. But exploring was super fun. I felt very comfortable, very safe, and the streets were just very easy to learn and navigate. So I was just kind of walking around, just wanted to make sure that I see as much as I possibly could, and I really enjoyed it. I went and I had lunch at like a really local restaurant, and I should have probably assumed that I can't pay for the food with my card. As in, I was able to. Well, I wasn't able to because they did accept cards, but they only accepted cards which were like local cards or something like that. I don't know. There had to be like a little sign on the card or something for them to accept my card, and they couldn't. So I ended up basically getting the food. I was like, I'm gonna be right back. I'm just gonna go in and get some money from the ATM, and then I'm gonna come back. And the person who was working there, he was very kind. He was like, no, have your food first, and then go and get the money. It's like I don't know, like they operate on this like system of like trust in people, which to me was just very strange because like I've never experienced that in Europe. Like I've never experienced like a person basically uh, offering me the food first and then told me to come pay for it later. Like I thought it was like uncanny, that someone actually would trust me, and that like I can, like, I don't know, trust me to like eat the food and then walk away and then come back and pay for it. And I was like, I felt like a little uncomfortable because of course I was gonna come back and pay for it, but I don't know, like I felt weird that they allowed me to do that. Like I understand that I was like, a tourist or whatever, and I should have probably had some cash on me at that point, but I just like I didn't know because up until that point I was able to do pretty much everything with the card, right? So I basically ended up having the food, and it was like an outdoor place. I was just sitting there, and there were three Malay dudes who came up to me and who asked how I knew what to order. And I said, because it was like apparently a very local dish, and I said that I didn't know what to order, that like I just asked for the person who was serving me food to just give me something local, something that they recommend, and they gave me that. And and basically they sat down and we started talking about it, and they were very friendly, very kind. And at some point I was gonna go and pay for my food, and I inquired about like where the closest like ATM is, and the guy's like, no, I got it covered, I'm gonna pay for it. You ordered like a Malaysian food, and I'm gonna I'm gonna like pay for your meal. And I felt so weird about it. I didn't want to accept it, but at the same time I was worried that like if I don't accept it, that it's gonna be like, I don't know, rude or something like that. And I was like, please, no, it's fine, it's okay. And they were like, no, 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 this is on me. And so he paid for my food. Like I felt so weird. Like I didn't like. I hope that they didn't like, I don't know, think that that's what like I was going for or whatever. It was a weird experience, but overall very pleasant. They were super kind to me, and I got to try that food and some of their drinks and whatnot. It was actually. I don't know. It was just a very, very good experience. And then I went back to the hotel and I finally had my room, so I decided to like take a little nap, like an hour and a half, and I was so worried that I was gonna like miss the concert that I actually messaged my like a few of my friends back home, and I was like, okay, you need to call my phone at this time, like when I had my alarm clock set up and everything, because I was afraid that I wouldn't actually be able to wake up, and I did, but like when I woke up after like an hour, after like 24 hours of not sleeping, I was feeling so dazed. I didn't like, I don't know, at that point I felt like I wasn't really ready to like go to a concert and listen to Final Fantasy music. But then I went and I saw all these people, and it was actually incredible. Like the most incredible part, I think, of the entire journey was just connecting with people who are, like on the other side of the world. But then you go and I don't know, you go there and you realize that they are definitely not so different. They all have like the same interests, the same, you know, just in general, like similar mindsets to you, even though you're, from a different culture and whatnot. It was nice to see Quasi and to get to hang out with some of the people from there, and just kind of pick their brain about like some things for regarding like Final Fantasy, regarding content creation, regarding all these things. They were very, very pleasant, very kind, and one of them actually like hotspotted me the internet because I didn't have the SIM card, so I was relying on the public internet, which for some reason I wasn't able to connect to. So she actually made sure that I was safe in my ride to the hotel before I went home, and I really appreciated that. It actually made me feel really, really, really safe and very welcome in general. Like people were so nice and so welcoming, and I don't know, my heart was really full. Like when I left for the airport, I realized that I kind of lived through I want to say lived through like an entire like week's worth of events. The music is too epic. Oh, I have the Assassin's Creed Mirage loaded because I'm gonna be playing it today. So I actually wasn't even aware that there is music because I don't have my headphones on. But I'm glad that we're having this little bit of a soundtrack as well as I'm telling you this story. But yeah, the journey back was also it was a lot shorter because I didn't have like a 5 hour overlay between Istanbul and no, not Istanbul, between Singapore and Belgrade, like at Istanbul, that I had the first time for like, I don't know, 5 hours or so. So I only had it for like an hour, and I had to use that hour to basically get from the plane to the next plane because it was quite a journey. Like the airport in Istanbul is so big, and I had to just basically rush to get myself there. And I don't know, like I thought I was gonna be able to sleep during that long flight from Singapore to Istanbul, but there was turbulence again. Even though it was like daytime, the plane was just shaking, and I was like, I sat there, and I don't know, like I was very, very much aware of at that point how far this is from home, and not how dangerous it is. I don't think flying is dangerous, but like at some point you feel like you kind of relinquish the control of your life, and you can kind of like give it to the pilot who's piloting this plane, and you're like, oh my god, my life is more precious than just, giving the control over it to, to some random person who I don't even know. And honestly, like I appreciate the shit out of like the pilots and the stewards and stewardesses. They're a crazy call, and the way they know what to do in these scary situations is actually insane. But yeah, in general, I was safe. I was well fed. I was very happy. I got to listen to some really good music. I got to see people. I came home to my family, to my dog. My dog was so happy to see me. Honestly, like he's very attached to me, and he spends basically my working days just sitting under my desk, and he really just, I don't know, he just really likes being there. And apparently he was pouting for like 3 days while I was gone, so it was quite an experience for him as well. I think he thought that I was like a giant asshole for ever leaving him, but eventually I came back, and he was more than happy with the outcome. So yeah, I'm still recovering. I'm still very jet lagged, very just, my nose is stuffed, and I'm definitely not at my best. But I don't know, just very happy, with the entire, I don't know, with the entire journey, with the entire experience. I'm just gonna go to the bathroom real quick, and then we're gonna start with some Assassin's Creed. Apparently, there's gonna be an ad in 30, I don't know, 30 seconds or so. So I'm gonna take advantage of it and use it as a bathroom break, and I will be right back. I need to blow my nose. I'll see you in a bit.